every single podcaster with over 1 million followers does this. To get people to listen to your podcast, talk about the things that no one has spoken about before. Now, how do you find out what these things are? The best secret that every podcaster does. There was a video we did a couple of weeks ago and we made one tiny little change to it and got over 1,000 subscribers. There are 5 things that the top podcasters in the world have recommended that I do. And I have tested these out, not just on my podcast, but on our clients' podcast. And the results have been insane. There was a video I did a couple of weeks ago and made one tiny tweak, and we got over 1,000 subscribers from that single episode. So today I want to share with you what those 5 things were, because they're so simple, they're so easy to introduce, and they're things that are probably holding your podcast back. But before we do it, I want to say a huge thank you. We landed at number 2 on the charts a couple of weeks ago in Australia. I think we're on the UK as well, and a couple of other countries, which is just insane that there are so many people from around the world tuning in and listening to this and getting value from it as well. There is nothing that makes my day more than getting a message from you saying this part of the episode really helped me, or I took notes, I tried this and it actually worked, because that is the reason that I'm doing this. I have seen so many people with the best ideas that could really help someone, but they just don't know where to start, or they're sitting there and they're being consistent. They're putting stuff out every single week. They're pouring hours of their life into creating this podcast, but it's just not getting them the results that they want. So these 5 steps are really easy. Make sure you head to the link for the debrief in the show notes. You can come back to this, make sure that you tick them off and that you implement them for your podcast. Now, these are not just your normal cliche topics. These 5 things are things that are so simple, but so important. The first one is making sure that you have such a clear vision of exactly what your podcast is about, who it's for, and what they need to hear. Now, I say this all the time. Almost every single Q&A episode that I've ever done, I talk about the importance of this. But the reason for it is a couple of weeks ago, I noticed this for myself. I was listening to my favorite podcast. I couldn't wait to tune in. It's part of my ritual every single week. I opened up my app, I went to click on it, and they were talking to someone in a completely different field than the reason that I come there to listen. I was like, oh, weird. Well, I trust them. I love their show. Maybe if I listen, then they'll still have some value in there for me. And there's a reason that they've got this person on. And I sat down, I pressed play, I listened to the episode, and none of it was relevant. There was not a single thing I could apply for my business. And I listened to these guys because I love the business advice and the content advice that they give. And so I went, oh, okay, all right, well, we'll see how we go. Come back next week. Maybe they'll have someone, more aligned. Came back the next week and there was someone different there again. And when I sat down and looked at their strategy, they were talking about topics that were trending. They were talking about topics that maybe potentially brought in a lot of new ears for them organically. But when I looked at it, I could see this in their downloads. Everything in the podcasting world is so transparent. You could see that they were on such a steep growth trajectory and then they kind of flatlined. And so I think you need to be really cognizant of what is the topic that your podcasters come to you for every single week, almost like an elevator pitch. If I was standing in an elevator and someone asked me, what is your podcast about? What are you filling in that sentence with? What is the one thing that you come back to? And when you're putting in a guest, when you're writing questions, when you're coming up with topics, think about that one line. Does it fit with that? Yes, maybe we're blurring. And if you want to rebrand, absolutely. Like podcasts grow and evolve, we grow and evolve. I do think you owe it to your listener to bring them on that journey as well. And they will be so excited to be a part of it. You will definitely lose people. We're about to go through a big rebrand for one of our podcasts at the moment. And it is really different to what we originally started that podcast for. But there will be some that will love it. And there will be so many other people who didn't really vibe with the first version of this podcast that are going to adore the next version that is coming. So it's really important that we're showcasing and sharing that behind the scenes, the pivot that we're going on. But I think ask yourself every week, does this topic, does this guest, does it align with where I want to go long term? Second one, every single person has told me is consistency. Not just consistency for the reps, but consistency for the habit that you are forming with your listeners. So every single week, you know that I am going to be releasing an episode Wednesday morning. If you opened up your app, you went to go and listen, and I wasn't there, and it was part of your ritual, you're like, oh, okay, that's what I usually do on Wednesday mornings. Guess I'm going to have to go and find something else. And then it is so hard for me to get you back. And so I see this with people that launch in seasons. all the time. They will do 10 episodes. They start to get so much momentum, so much hype. They're almost going on this like hockey stick curve, which is exactly where they'll end up if they keep being consistent. But instead, they stop the season. And if you don't come in with a proper launch strategy again for that season 2, you're going to start all the way back at the beginning again. And it's exhausting for you, for your listeners. They crave, they want more. So don't put out shit content just for the sake of filling a space. But when you are starting your podcast, be so realistic with what you can commit to and have a look at that 12-month journey. In 12 months' time, can I still sustain this? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's looking at a different content format for you. The third one, and the one that has made the biggest change for us, is optimizing for YouTube. Now, most people look at YouTube as a platform where they consume long form content. We used to watch vlogs on there. Maybe we'll watch like a tutorial. The best part about that is if you have a question that you need answered, most people will go to TikTok now, ChatGPT, or YouTube to find it. All of the AI search engines now aggregate and populate YouTube videos as results. They crawl through your transcript, and if you have the answers to a question in there, they will either teach your findings and credit you as a source, or they'll recommend the video for people to go and watch. And it is there forever. So if your title is optimized for your ideal listeners, whether it's now or 3 months' time, we have seen so many videos that have had a title and package change. So the thumbnail's been updated and it has popped off months after the episode has gone live. And I have seen this with so many other creators as well. So this is not just a set and forget. This is a set, see what happens, learn from the analytics. There are so many good analytics in YouTube, and really understand that this platform is a search engine. It will give you the best, most engaged community and audience if you leverage it properly. The fourth one is something that Mon from The Socialista spoke about so in depth in her podcast episode. And we almost got a full content plan from her for what to post every single day if you have a podcast. Now, this is something that I've been testing. If you follow my account or the podcast account on Instagram, you would have seen this, that I don't just post the podcast clips anymore. Now, we have a whole new plan that we're bringing in for this. That is the next tier and level up from what we have been doing. Because what we have been doing is, to be completely honest, surviving the season, running an agency, having 2 little girls, getting this podcast off the ground, doing filming all around Australia, and pulling it all together in time to go live for you on Wednesdays, as well as bringing on a whole heap of new clients. It has been a very busy season. But this is so important to me, and I have such a big goal to help people to get in the ears of the people that need to hear this the most so that they can go and help other people. So content is something that we are going even harder on this year, and you will see this all unfold over the next month or so. But we never just post the reels and forget about the episode. 2 really simple changes that we brought in is, rather than just posting the reel to my story, I do a pre-post story. This sounds so simple, and it is. It's literally a story right before I repost the reel that tells you why I'm posting the reel. Something that gives you context, something that excites you, something that brings you in, something that tells you why you should care about the thing that I'm posting next. Because the thing that I'm posting next is a reel that most people are preconditioned to just go tap and tap through. Whereas people love to read, they love static posts, they love context, they love you speaking to them. And on stories, they're not there to consume reels. It's like getting someone from Instagram to go and listen to your podcast. They're not on Instagram to listen to your podcast. So using stories to promote your podcast can work so well if you use stories for what they're intended for. So we added that in. The second thing that we added in is the day before the podcast goes live, I will do a talking to camera piece like this, or some B-roll with some text over the top. And I talk again to you about why this podcast is so important for you to listen to, what you're going to get out of it. And then the next day we have the full production, the reel, the teaser, the trailer, which also performs really well. But where we're seeing people want to consume on Instagram at the moment is in direct to camera pieces with really good hooks, and trailers can have really good hooks. You can structure an episode to have that, but there's a different feel when I sit down to intentionally record a piece of content, and the best creators in the world are doing it. And this has probably doubled our reach of people that go from Instagram to podcast listener organically with no extra push, not coming from a separate audience, just things that we're doing to encourage people to go and see that long form piece of content. The last one is something that a lot of guests have thanked me for, and you'll hear us talk about it on the episode. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that we spend a lot of time doing in the agency as well, is looking into the guests that we have on and looking at what's going on in their personal life, what they're sharing, but also trying to find out what they're not sharing. There are so many podcasts in the world, and the people that you want to talk to have most likely been on a podcast before. They've probably shared a story, a version of it. They've spoken about the topic that you really want to talk to them about. And so, what is so important to get people to listen to your podcast, but also to bring value for your listeners, is to talk about the things that no one has spoken about before. Now, how do you find out what these things are? Of course, there are going to be people that have Wikipedia pages and all of this information. They've got books you can read. Still, that's all public, accessible information, and they're probably things that they have spoken about in some way, shape, or form. The best secret that every podcaster does is has a pre-interview questionnaire. Now, this is your opportunity to frame up for your guests exactly what your podcast is about, who your listeners are, what are the challenges, what are the pain points, who are they actually going to be talking to on the day, and how can they best help them. And then you want to give them a list of questions that is going to give you insights into exactly what you should be talking about. What were their biggest challenges? What do they love talking about that no one asked them about? What was the moment that changed it all for them? Now, of course, you don't want to put those questions word for word. You really need to be specific with how this particular question can apply to your audience and again, then to that person. Because when you get that right, the answer comes naturally to them. If I ask you what your biggest challenge was in business, you're going to sit there and be like, well, there's been a few. We don't know if it's going to be the exact right story or the most powerful one. So you really need to frame up and give context to that. And if that is something that you want help with, send me a DM with the word questionnaire and I'll send you a sample of what we do for one of our clients, because I truly believe this has been the difference between a good podcast episode and a podcast episode that people cannot wait to listen to. Like, there has been podcasts now that we have produced that I've heard the person speak 1,000 times. And I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? I've never heard them talk about that. What is this? And so I'm naturally already curious, intrigued. It's piqued my interest. And I've seen this in reels as well. It's like, I've never spoken about this before. What is it? So really including those things has been an absolute game changer for us. And again, every single podcaster with over 1 million followers does this. Now, the very last thing that I want to say today is a conversation that I have had so many times over the last few weeks. And it's from people that, again, I know they can genuinely help people with the message that they have. They need some crafting, need to be positioned in the right spot, but the intention and the knowledge that they have is something that the world absolutely needs to hear. But the one thing holding them back from starting is that they are already busy. They are running a business. They've got so much going on and they have no idea where to even begin. They don't know what microphone to get. They don't know which lights to have. But the bigger problem, if they do their podcast, they want to do it properly. They want to be positioned as the go-to. They want this to be something that gives them a positive benefit for their business, because if it's taking time away from their business, it has to be adding value. And so we have been working with a really small group of people on exactly this, on refining their offer, on creating something that people actually want to listen to, and making sure that we're using strategic hacks to position them as the voice of authority in their industry and to create a place where people actually want to come and listen to every single week. Now, this isn't just a template you can plug in. This is something that I personally believe you need to really do the work on. You need to think about what is your strategy, who you're going to try to talk to, where are they consuming content, and how can you best get in front of them. And for most of you, it's not actually going to be some generic social media plan. It's bigger than that, but also easier if you do it the right way. So if that sounds like you and you are looking for some guidance on this, I am not going to be promoting this widely because I want to keep these rounds really small. I only want to work with 8 people and 8 people that I know we can get results for. So if that sounds like you, DM me the word mic drop. I would love to hear about what you want to create, how you want to help people, and what's been holding you back from achieving the things that you know you are capable of and the positioning that you know that you should have right now. If you've loved this episode, we have the most incredible guest episodes coming up. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you are listening, because I can tell you right now, you will not want to miss this episode. And if there's something else that you want me to cover, please send me a DM over at @AliciaChapman_ or at How Do I Podcast. I will drop the links in the show notes, and I cannot wait to see you next week.